Wow, ask questions about death and a whole lot of thinking goes on. We get to questions about the meaning of life, questions about purpose, grief, loss, mystery, awe and wonder. Welcome back to innerVIVID, Theme 6, all about endings. I'm Fiona and we're filming this on the lands of the Yagara and Turrbal people, lands that were never ceded. So, light your campfires, grab your drinks and settle back with a couple of solid friends and ask a few of these questions and see how deep you go. I like to call these kinds of conversations after midnight moments. Many of us are not used to having conversations all about death and dying and the end of life. We hope that engaging with innerVIVID makes it all just a little more, well, normal. As we learnt in the last episode, knowing that we all have an ending can make life more intense and intentional along the way. And it certainly gets us thinking about spirituality, that sense that we might be more than we appear, with a connection to something bigger than ourselves. So we asked a few people this question: why is death such a big deal? There are some really beautiful insights coming your way from people who really know what they're talking about.
Well, I think death is such a big deal for those of us who are left here to make sense of death, to learn to live without people or animals who have died. But even if it is the death of a situation or a season of life as well, or even an ability, so there can be deaths when there's an accident and life changes as we knew it, or an illness or a diagnosis leads us to a new way of being. Yeah, so I feel like it's the making sense of it afterwards that is the hardest part of death, and then missing whatever it was that we are mourning.
I deal more in death than most people probably, and it's the before death that's the scary bit. I think that I come across in the hospital working with people, the families, they're thinking about missing their family member before they've died, and that's the scary thing for them. The people that I talk to who are actively dying don't seem to be so worried. They are the ones I've fortunately been part of very recently, like last week. She was quite peaceful and accepting, but it was her family who were struggling. It's an unknown.
Why do you think death is such a big deal?
Because we're afraid of it. I think that we've so sanitized death in language and in experience that we're actually afraid to be confronted by it and to confront it. I always encourage families, if there's been a death in a family, have a funeral with a coffin there, so you can actually deal with the realities of that person's death. But I think, from my experience, I think people are afraid of it because of the uncertainty around it.
Everyone has such different and varied experiences with death. What do you wish that others understood about your experiences with death? The death of a loved one, perhaps, the violence of death in war, or even the death of pets, as Jamie Lee alluded to. We encourage you to reach out to get the support you need and to understand that your experience is valid. So, we have a big question for episode 2 of Theme 6, and this is it.
Humans are obsessed with knowing, or at least wondering, about what happens after death. Why is that?
I think it's because we human beings live our lives by continually projecting ourselves into the future. That all of us have a sense of who we are and how to live in time and how to navigate life only because we're constantly imagining and projecting tomorrow, the next moment, the next year, the next decade. And this is what structures human life. This is what stabilizes the anxiety of relating to an open and indeterminate future. So I think this is what we're doing all the time. Now, death is an absolute limit to this. And yet, precisely because death is a limit to our ability to kind of, project ourselves into the future, I actually think it actually incites that projection all the more. Is actually we sort of obsessed with knowing who we will be in the future, and this is how we gain our various sense of identity. So it makes absolute sense that we would fill in what's after death with an image of ourselves, because that's what we're doing all the time.
I think the reason is because we all know we're going to die. There's an inevitability. It's not going to not happen to any of us. So I think there is a natural curiosity to wonder what is happening. I think also in pondering about death, it often questions, how are we living? Are there changes I want to make? Are there things that I no longer want to do? Are there things that if I was on my deathbed, I would not want to look back and see that in my life? And so I think the curiosity around death is a natural one. I think as many of us have lost people close to us, our loved ones or pets or whatever, that we wonder what happened to them. We have this life stage that is very defining, but we actually know very little about it.
We don't like uncertainty. You know, we like everything stitched up neatly in a little box, and it's a really uncomfortable place to sit when we don't have all the answers. And so just sitting in that uncomfortable place and trusting that whatever happens, it's going to be okay, is a bit of a stretch. And so I think part of that conversation about what happens is about grasping for some sort of certainty so that we can feel better about stuff.
Yeah, there's this quote by this Dutch guy called Wim Hof, and he says, I'm not afraid to die, I'm afraid to not live. And I think that sums up, for me, I guess, my thoughts and feelings on death. I have to admit I'm a little bit obsessed with wanting to know what happens to me after I die. And I think as humans we're inherently curious. We want to know things. And I think if we're in a place of uncertainty, that can get very uncomfortable for us as humans. I think we want to know. And so the fact that death is, I guess, this really large concept, and we're not really truly sure what happens to us after death. And I think because of that, we just want to know, or we just have this itch to know. So what if it's not the actual dying part that we're obsessed with, but the fact that we won't get to enjoy or at least experience living anymore?
Generally, I think humans are obsessed with mystery, and that's the great mystery, isn't it? Like, what happens after death? Some Native American tribes put their bodies on high stilts so that they can be closer to the sky rather than have dirt thrown in their face. It's this great mystery of if we don't know, then maybe we'll make up a story about it, but I think in the end it is just the mystery of what people need to know.
I think a lot of that is because we simply don't know. What a mystery. And we love a mystery, and we can't know the answer, because the problem is we can't come back and tell anybody. We know that we're born, and we know that death to our bodies is inevitable. What we don't know for sure is what happens next. It's exciting and it's terrifying, and it's all of those great mysterious things all at once, and we simply have no way of knowing. So it's been one of those mysteries that for as long as people have been aware of life and death, there's been questions in every society that we're aware of what happens next.
I think it's because of love, because eventually we lose people we love and we wonder where they go. And I think it's hope that maybe this isn't all there is. And I think there's a part of us that hopes for more. And for me, that makes so much sense, because from my own faith perspective, we hold this belief that there is something after death, that actually death isn't the end of things, but actually the start of something that stretches on forever. And it's this promise that that idea of stretching on forever comes with people we love, with community, with this sense of being together with others. And I think that's a beautiful thing, to ponder on these questions in hope for something more. Yeah.
We have, as humans, wondered about what happens after death. Even before there were kind of, in a sense, the great monotheistic religions, you see people taking care of the dead. And in a sense, in the way they've taken care of the dead, it does seem there's that question, what actually has happened? What has happened to this person? Where is that sense of life and purpose now, if that body's just a corpse? Religions try and give an example about that. Certainly Christianity talks about heaven. I'm actually somewhat cautious talking about heaven. I don't think of it as a place. If it was literally a place, I think we should be building spaceships, not churches. But I think what you can do is get a sense that life itself has a purpose that extends beyond that is just apparent now. That in a way, if I may just put it clumsily, love is not lost. Love is conserved. And I kind of think that a vision of what maybe after death is just a sense of where all that love is gathered together. That's the best image I've got for myself about what might happen after death.
Wow, that's a great image to end on. Thanks, John. All our love gathered together. Now, in that episode, I heard that death is interesting to us because it is the ultimate mystery and we have no control over it. Life is vivid and immediate and death is, well, unknown. And why are we so intrigued? Erica's idea rang true for me, that us humans feel so deeply. Our love and connectedness means so much. It's hard to think that death is the end. Love carries on, why not life? Wishful thinking? Maybe. But in our next episode, we get into some interesting territory too, with this question: what have some different cultures said about what happens after death? What do you think? We'll see you there.